But the late stage version of that is you go, if you can convince people to be productive, it's more efficient for us to extract resources from them. If you think about, there are certain social levers that every human being needs. They have a need for sociability. They need a community. They need spirituality, and they need individuality. So you take those four things and you go, what are those four levers? That's socialism, communism, capitalism, and religion. And those are the four things that people have been using to marshal resources for 12,000 years. Those are the levers of power that people pull. Now, with Bitcoin, you've got a rule change. You go, hey, what's the rule now? There's this valuable property that you can't steal. It is the most valuable property that's ever been created in the history of mankind, and you can't take it. We've got these treasury companies now. We got these loan companies now. What are they doing?
Welcome back to G'day Bitcoin. I'm your host, Sean. Joining us today is Daniel from Microseed. We're going to dive into a couple of things, Bitcoin and self-custody, securing your seed. But I've got a really interesting question. Daniel, before we hit record, you said you come from like a legal research, financial crimes background. BlackRock is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin through their ETF in the world. When BlackRock came out with their ETF, in their white paper or their perspective, they were talking about if Bitcoin forks, they could go with whatever chain they chose. Didn't necessarily need to be the longest chain. What do you think the possibility of that is from like a financial crimes research point of view? What's your take on that, and maybe like a little bit of the messaging that's starting to come into the space?
Well, I'm always dubious of the messaging because it's fully loaded with, influencer, motivations. And for those who aren't aware of the way the Twitter algorithm works or any algorithm works for social media, it thrives on engagement, especially Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. So a lot of those people that are kind of putting that stuff out are strategically doing so. And you see it from the clickbait titles, but everything, it's always clickbait. It doesn't matter who's putting it out. They say, oh, I hate these clickbait guys. Like, if you're popular, you're probably somewhere in the realm of clickbait because that's just how you make a living doing this. So the way those narratives play out in the public sphere, I'm always dubious of because I just don't think you can hang a lot on them necessarily. And yet in the background, like I read that same prospectus and I went, yep, well, but it's sort of self-evident if you're looking at it from BlackRock's perspective, right? Because they're not going to invest however much. They're not going to put the BlackRock name or whatever that's worth. For Bitcoiners, it's zero. For people that are really into TradFi fiat games, BlackRock is the name, right? So if they're going to put their name on that thing, they're going to button up all their little loose ends, right? And they're certainly not going to let a bunch of squabbling autistic coders that are in their mom's basement determine the future of BlackRock's ETF. Like, there's just zero chance they're going to do that. If you look at the messaging around the Microseed account, we sell a security device that helps you record your seed phrase, right? Like, it's not rocket science. Our thing, I think, is pretty cool, but our core mission, like, at least a third of my messaging is run a node. You have to, if you are a Bitcoiner, if you're calling yourself a Bitcoiner, you're not running a node, you're a speculator 100%. I don't care who that pisses off. If you believe in this revolution, if you believe in the Bitcoin ethos, if you believe in Bitcoin as something that's going to radically transform the future of humanity, you have to be part of that solution. You can't just be on the sidelines hoping for number go up. And the most important possible thing you can do is run a node. I was at BTC Prague, not this last one, the one before, and I had an opportunity to ask Adam back in a little, because I bought the VIP tickets because I'm a lunatic and whatever. But I was up there because I wanted to see these guys up close and personal. And I wanted to talk to them. And I asked Adam back. I said, hey, man, mining centralization seems like a big problem. It looks to me like there's 5 people control all the hash. So what's up with that? How will we fix that problem? And Adam back very thoughtfully goes, yeah, that's a big problem. All right. Yep. We're going to have to work on that. And I go, like, that's it. That's the answer. What are you talking about, man? Like, this is everything. This is the proof of work. And so as I ran down that rabbit hole, I kind of went deeper than I probably needed to or should have. And then I'm super grateful for the Opportune Wars because that drove me even further down the rabbit hole of just like, okay, I've really got to understand what's going on here. Because if you listen to the rhetoric, there's zero credibility in the rhetoric. There's a lot of credibility if you get down into the technical details. But very few people can get down there, and very few people want to muck around in it because it's confusing and it's nuanced and it's And it comes down to like a judgment call, really, at the end of the day. And it just depends on which side of that judgment you sort of lean more towards, right? But everything that gets piled on top of it, I just go, it's just noise to me nowadays. Um, but what I realized is like, and I'm gonna ramble a little bit here, but I also went off and I got in this big, huge debate. I could probably show it to you on Twitter with this BSV guy, like, and I went so deep with this guy because he's super technically smart. He really gets this shit like on a deep, deep level. And I was just sitting there like he'd say shit, and I'd be like, "Oh, oh, okay, let me go fucking grok that. Let me go Google this and read a paper and do this. Here's my smart, quippy answer." And he just, knock it down and go, crap. So I ended up having to fight with this guy about all the reasons why nodes are important and this and that and the other thing. The broad point of all this was by the time I got to the bottom of that BSV debate, and by the time I got to the bottom of the Opportune debate, and by the time I got to the bottom of the mining centralization issue, my takeaway conclusion from all of it is every single human being that owns Bitcoin should be running a node tomorrow,
I
not like
agree.
a week from now, not like, and depending on how you look at nodes, I say a node provides two very, very valuable services. One, you can validate your own transactions, validate that you have a valid transaction that meets consensus rules. Cool. Very, very, very cool thing. You're actually interacting with the blockchain if you are transacting through your node. So you're now welcome to three-fourths of a Bitcoiner or two-thirds of a Bitcoiner. The other thing is it provides a trivial voting power. And I mean trivial in the most literal sense of the word. You have a voting power from that node. You get to decide what software you run on that node. So if Bitcoin Core comes along and goes, well, we're going to be BlackRock slash Bitcoin Core now, you want to be sure that you go, I'm not upgrading to that ever. Ever in a million years am I going to upgrade to that. Right now, there are 20,000 reachable nodes. Some estimates go about as high as 85,000 nodes that are available somewhere in the world. There are 8 million Bitcoin speculators. You go, man, that's not enough. It is a trivial, trivial, trivial thing for BlackRock, the largest financial institution on planet Earth, the institution that owns a third of planet Earth. It would be a trivial thing for them to overcome any node votes right now by just deploying more nodes. I mean, it's the infrastructure for that is not rocket science. These guys have data centers where they will compete to save 3 meters on their fiber runs so they can get faster transactions. They can
Yeah.
certainly figure out how to spin up a bunch of nodes. They can certainly figure out how to geographically disperse them. And they can certainly sit there and go, we think we're going to go with the core solution. Like these Knots guys are coming along. They're starting to kind of screw with our ETF. I don't like it. We want spam. We want JPEGs and dick butt pictures and whatever it is that people want to do with. I don't know what they're doing with these things. So we just like that because we sold our clients Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin we sold our clients was based on core. So we're going to run a bunch of core nodes to make sure that's the reference implementation that we're following. If there are 8 million nodes running, that becomes an exponentially harder problem for them to overcome. They have to follow what the nodes want, not the other way around. And right now, if you're a Bitcoin speculator and you're not running a node, and BlackRock comes along and tells Kraken and everybody else, like, hey, man, we're going to come down and smash your face if you don't run our version of the software, or if you don't run the version that we want. We're going to bring the US Department of Justice down on your head. We're going to bring FinCEN down on your head. We're going to bring all the financial regulators down on your head. Or you can just play nice and be the economically important node that runs the software that we think is actually Bitcoin. And so that I apologize for my long-winded soapboxy kind of rant, but for the love of God, for the love of Bitcoin, if you're watching this, please, please, please run a node. Just spin one up. Figure it
Yeah.
out. It's not rocket science. Go get yourself a freaking future bit miner. They have a node built right in. It's running core software, but whatever. Don't upgrade it to the new version if you're bent out of shape about it. Figure out how to put knots on there. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care. Just
Run a
spin
node.
one up. Have a voice, please. So that I'll shut up now. Let you have a word in edgewise, Sean. Thank you.
I appreciate you saying that, Daniel. I think running a node is the most important thing. Yesterday, Robin Sayer had me back on the podcast on his pod, and we spent quite a lot of time talking about nodes and what we thought were the most important steps to Bitcoin. And from my point of view, it's buy Bitcoin, run a node, and then UTXO management. And that way you're like verifying everything like that, but you're also supporting the network and you're leading to the decentralization of the money that we're using. If you can get those three things right, and if you're going through a node, like by design, you're taking that Bitcoin into self-custody. So it's sort of like there's 4 steps, but it's just easy to be able to wrap that in. And like my main message, or the reason that I show up week in, week out, or every day last year when I was covering the news, is just to provide the message that Bitcoin and self custody is all that matters. Like that's the whole game. People are getting distracted with Bitcoin treasury companies or the ETFs or whatever they want to do. Fundamentally, in the world, fiat money is broken. There's like it's just broken. It's at the end of its lifespan. Bitcoin came along. It is that solution, and people, like, it's their money, it's their choice. So don't actually care what they do or don't invest in, but to have no savings of Bitcoin in self custody and make all these fiat gains. What happens in 3 years if there's so much regulation that the exchanges don't exist, or there's so much red tape, and you'll still be able to get Bitcoin, but you may not be able to get as much Bitcoin, or you may not be able to get it very easily. So while we've still got this opportunity to buy Bitcoin, put it in self custody, run our own node. If you've still got your Bitcoin on an exchange, or you're looking to take your Bitcoin security to the next level, I've partnered with the Bitcoin Way. They offer live help for setting up cold storage, running your own node, keeping your Bitcoin private, planning for the future, using multi-sig, and so much more. They never touch your keys. They will not touch your coins. Instead, they'll show you how to buy and keep them safe. If you want to make your Bitcoin setup safer, you can book a free 30-minute call and have a chat with them. Safe Dina Moose, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, Natalie Brunel, Preston Pish, and so many more recommend the professional IT cybersecurity team. Couple of outstanding things here. You can see they've been featured in Forbes, Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin Prague, Zero Hedge, Simply Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Safe Dean, the Bitcoin Standard podcast with Safe Dina Moose, Bitcoin News, obviously Gday Bitcoin for a long time. They're the world experts in helping people become self-sovereign. It's not just about protecting your Bitcoin stash. Yes, they will help you do that in a very easy to understand step-by-step process. But from there, they can help you secure your data. They are your personal cybersecurity IT experts. And then step number 3 is getting a second passport, a Plan B residency. The team, very cheap, very affordable for people that are looking to take their sovereignty to the next level. You can find out more about their services. When you first log in to their website as well, they have got a free 3-minute quiz to allow you to check if you are doing your cybersecurity, your setup correctly. I urge everyone to jump onto the bitcoinway.com. I have put a link into the description for everyone. Could not recommend them enough. I've used them personally before I ever partnered with them for the channel, friends and family. They asked me to help them out. I'm like, go to the world experts. That is the Bitcoin Way. So reach out to the Bitcoin Way today. For me, I don't think anything else matters. And then like a big component of that is not your keys, not your coins. And before the show, you said, I don't like shilling anything. I wouldn't say bringing up Microseed is shilling anything. You've created a very amazing product, and I'm going to bring it up. Like, you've got the endorsement of the Bitcoin Way. They recommend your product. I'm just going to share my screen here, which goes to say a lot. Like, Tony and the team from the Bitcoin Way are my favorite people. Tony's one of my favorite persons in the world. After my wife, I dare say, is my favorite person in the world. I just think he's amazing. But I guess what this is, it's sort of hard to see, but it's just a washer, either steel or titanium, the size of a coin. But you've made these like tiny, tiny, tiny little precision engravers. Now, I was having a thought the other day about going through the airport and someone's got their seed place, steel or titanium. That's going to show up like in their luggage, and they're going to pull it out and have a look or whatever. A washer, like, you could put that on your suitcase wheel. Like, you could pull the wheel out, you put it in there or whatever. But am I remembering correctly? Did I see that you guys put out something about like a nylon or a plastic washer?
Yeah.
Now that
Yeah.
would be very interesting because you could just stitch it onto a backpack or a shirt or something, and it could look like a bloody button.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of the nylon washer is when you're micro stamping text into it, you can't read it at all. Like it basically, it virtually disappears. I've got pictures on the website where I had to take a Sharpie, which is like a magic marker, a little black marker so you can so you can highlight the text so you can even read it. One of the most satisfying things I've had since I built a microseed was at the Vegas conference. The folks from Chain Analysis, I don't know if you're familiar with Chain Analysis. They're the people who can trace and track Bitcoin, but they're very much like a Fed oriented company, right? And oddly enough, like when we're talking about the financial crimes and legal research, like I did a 4-part series for the Banking Law Journal here in the United States on anti-money laundering laws, and that was in 2014 or 2015. I think the first edition came out, and like the first part of that series came out in 2014. But I was writing about the girl at UCSD, the University of California, San Diego, who came up with the research, who was the first person to figure out, like, hey, these aren't anonymous transactions. I think I can figure out a way to find out who spent what and where it went and how. And that was the birth of chain analysis. But I wrote about that in my paper in 2014. So I've been
Yeah.
kind of around this idea for a long time. But those cats came around and they had a bunch of feds with them. And the guy said, "Oh, what do you guys do here?" You know, I said, "Oh, we microstamp text." And the guy, you could see his face kind of like, "Oh, I don't know if I like this very much." And then he went back to his Fed friend and he said, "Well, wait, what's this nylon thing all about?" And I go, "Well, this is to defeat things like body scanners, metal detection, X-ray." And he went, "Oh, can I show this to my colleague?" I went, "Yeah, go nuts, buddy." He walks over. These guys start putting their heads down, and the guy goes, "There's zero chance I could ever detect that. No way, it's impossible." We go, "Oh, what is he talking about?" Apparently, they have this very advanced technology. It's called depth scanning. I think that's what he said. And depth scanning, from what I understand about it, and I'm probably butchering it and just making myself look like an idiot by trying to say what this is, but my understanding of it was they have these scanners now that are capable of scanning through solid objects and then pulling out the varying depths of the surfaces underneath,
Mm,
and then they can read text from that. And I think they do this for like bomb detection and like determining where missiles came from and stuff like that. I don't think they're using it to find people's seed phrases, right?
yeah.
But the fact that the guy looked at it and went, zero chance. Like, there's no way I'm going to pick that up. I can't. It's impossible. I went, cool. I love that. I love the sound of that. And there was also a couple of people that stopped by our booth in Vegas that said, oh man, I wish I could have had that like 2 years ago because I was trying to cross a border and he said, I think if I remember the story correctly, he said he had to brain wallet it, right? Like he sat there and just remembered his seed phrase, remembered his seed phrase. But when he got to the border, it's a hostile border, and these guys were metal detecting at the border, hand waving metal detectors. They're not looking for seed plates, obviously. They're looking
Yep.
for rings. They're looking for watches. They're looking for gold. They're going to shake you down, and then they're going to go, get out of here. We're going to shoot you. And you go, no, thank you very much. I'll see you later.
Yep.
And you scurry through. So if you happen to be the kind of person who needs to scurry across a hostile border, most of us aren't going to be that guy, and life happens to you when you're making other plans, right? Like you just don't know. Heaven only knows what can happen. You could get buttoned up in a foreign country and you could have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin sewn into a button. And you go, oh, I'm getting buttoned up for some nonsense here. I don't know what this is. I'm going to swallow this thing because there are a lot of prisons in the world that are not like Australian prisons or not like US prisons where you get there and there's a bureaucracy and a structure and this and that and administration. There's just a lot of like, hey, you got any money? No. Well, you're going to have a real rough time here, buddy. But if you go, well, if you give me a couple days, I can have a lot of money coming your way. If you just give me a second, I'm not saying this is an ideal situation or solution. What I am saying is an solution. Uh, so that was the purpose of all this. But what you said right up top, like what if you want to take it on a plane? That's exactly what created the microseed to begin with, because I sat there banging away on a goddamn, pardon my French, goddamn titanium plate, and it was a real pain in the ass. I was sitting on my garage floor because it didn't work on my table. I had to sit there like I'm sitting on the concrete looking like a baboon, like whacking away on this thing. I bashed my fingers. My girlfriend's looking at me like, "What in the world are you doing? You literally look like a monkey right now. Like, go ahead and paying attention." I'm focused right now. And so when I was finally done with this thing, I was like, well, what if I want to make another wallet? Or what if I want to take it on a plane? Or what if I made a mistake right now? Or what if I want to make a drop wallet? Or what if I want to make another wallet to sweep funds? Or what if I want to make a wallet for my friends? I got to go online, order a thing, and wait 2 weeks and have it show up and yada yada yada. And what if someone finds this damn thing? like all of these things were sort of running through my head. And my thought was like, man, I wish I could just, because I hate the stack of washers. I'm not a big fan, the little DIY thing or whatever, the other guys that have the little tube and I go, that's cute and all, but you're walking around with a roll of quarters in your pocket and good luck getting through anywhere with that. So I thought, man, it would just be awesome if someone could just come up with a thing where you could put all the words on just one washer, and then I could do any goddamn thing I wanted with it. I could hide it, I could do this, I could do that, I could cover it. I've got all these ideas, and that was the birth of it. It was like no one made it, and then it turns out it's a real pain in the ass to do. So I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out how to make that work, and I finally got something going. I was like, sweet, and I just made it for myself. Totally selfish invention. I wasn't having any designs on like, oh, I'm going to sell this thing in some little weird niche market where I have to do all this overseas manufacturing and deal with international supply chains and tariffs and all this other shit. Like that's my new goal in life is to figure this nonsense out. But I started showing it to friends, and they're like, "Dude, that's awesome! I want one." I'm like, "Okay, well, let me see if I can make this where someone else could get one too." And it's precisely for that reason that you pointed out. The two things that Microseed that we care about more than anything in the world is that Bitcoiners take self custody and that they run a node. Like those two
Amen.
things, 100%, right? Like if you do
It's all
that,
that matters.
that's all that matters. That's literally all that matters in the
Yeah,
entire world. Like,
that's
do
right.
those 2 things. And if we can convince people to do that, and if we can make it easier for people to do that, then our success is through the roof. I will forever be grateful to the Bitcoin ethos and the Bitcoin space and the Bitcoin everything if I can just get more people to do that. That is my guiding principle in everything that I do. So that's another long-winded answer about why Nylon.
I absolutely love that. Daniel, I'll put a link or something to the microseed up on my website, just
Oh,
for the
thank you,
way
man.
that you communicated that. That's simply my mission as well as Bitcoin self custody, run a node. Like we've got freedom money.
Right.
Like why fuck around? We don't need to
Yeah,
anymore.
don't
it's
do it. It's just not worth it. Yeah.
That's right. Like I've been thinking a lot, like about this freedom money, or more so about why Bitcoin treasury companies and stuff like
Ugh.
boil my blood so much. And it's sort of like what I was just saying before: is we've got this opportunity, the money's broken, but like digital IDs, CBDCs, the regulation, the freedom of speech that's being taken away,
Ugh.
like people are in, like the world's in a death spiral.
Yeah,
Like
both.
both of them. It's getting so hard. And however long that we can still buy Bitcoin easily, put into self custody, like it's truly all that matters. Like I truly hope people with MicroStrategy and SWC and like whatever they are, I don't care. I hope they go to the moon and people profit and they can put that profit into Bitcoin. But I just fear that maybe they won't be able to at that stage. And maybe we're only going to know in hindsight. But if my fear comes to reality, like too little, too late. Like you can't undo it if we get to that position. But we've got a very, very unique time in history, I think, where we've still got the average person has that freedom to be able to take freedom and do that. But how do you think about the Bitcoin treasury companies and stuff? Or do you don't think about them? Or do you have maybe like more of a grounded way of thinking, or it's just of no interest?
I can tell you, I agree with you 1000%. And I would probably take it a little step further because I love freedom money and the idea of freedom money. And this will trace into the subject of my book, really. The book is The Great Realignment, Power, Money, Greed, and Bitcoin. I'm not shilling a book. You can literally read it for free on Noster
I'll
tomorrow. Like,
put it
don't buy
below.
my paperback. You don't have to buy a paperback unless you just really have a hard on for reading things on paper.
Well, that's me. So I will be.
Well, it's all free. I mean, if you just want the information, it's free. I put this out because I'm not here to shill books. I'm not even here to shill stamping things. I'm here to just shill Bitcoin. Like I want
Freedom.
people to get Bitcoin and to understand that. But the principal thesis of my book is that what we have been existing in for the last 12,000 years since the dawn of agriculture is our competitive resource economies. It's a competitive resource capture game, right? That we've been playing since someone said, hey, I've got more vegetables than I need. Someone else came along and went, hey, it's easier to bonk you on the head and take your vegetables than it is to grow those damn things. I'm going to do that instead. And the second that happened, we went from the like hunter gatherer, like, oh, we're just kind of sharing things and we're just kind of getting along and everything's. I mean, it's not that they didn't fight. It's not that they didn't have territorial disputes or that, they get sauced up because some guy stole his girlfriend or whatever. I'm not saying it was like this utopian, peaceful, like Eden thing. What I am saying is that the advent of agriculture and animal husbandry fundamentally changed how human beings interact from that moment on. And so the book is predicated on this idea that if we truly exist in a competitive resource capture game, which I think is true, and if you look at it and you go, okay, you're playing a game that has no rules by design. You cannot have a rule set if there's no one to enforce those rules. So any way that you can capture resources is a valid way to play the game. And if you hear that at first blush, you go, oh yeah, well whatever. I mean, they always have. There's international law. People always come up with ideas about paper rules. And I go, well, then how come we could just go do things like firebomb Dresden, or we can just flatten Gaza, or how come we can just invade Iraq cause, or we can go and interfere with elections, or we can because those are all competitive resource capture games. There is a resource that is valuable to somebody, and they're going down and using whatever means they need to capture that resource. That they have to try and justify it and rationalize it and whatever it is, those are all ways to play the game, but there are no rules at the end of the day. If you have nukes and you have a fleet of aircraft carriers and a bunch of jets and all that kind of stuff, you get to set some pretty crazy rules and you get to capture a lot of resources, which is the United States 100%. So given that, the thing that drives the theme of my book is that Bitcoin changes that rule set. It actually adds a rule to a game that's been played for 12,000 years with no rules, and we see the results of that game. This is a refinement on that game because somewhere along the line, someone said, hey, it's easier to convince people to give us little pieces of paper or little pieces of silver instead of bonking them on the head and stealing all their stuff. Because if we steal all their stuff, we have to store it somewhere. That gets inconvenient. This stuff rots, it goes bad, and I don't need it right now. But hey, you know what? If we come up with this little thing called money, we can force these people to be more productive because they have to pay a tax to us. So instead of paying a direct tax via stuff, they have to pay a tax via specie or via paper currencies or whatever scheme they come up with. You got to pay your tax. But then you can use that same tax. You, the great sovereign leader of whatever kingdom that you've created, can now spread that around amongst your subjects and get the things that they produce when you need them rather than stealing it and having to store it, for indefinitely or whatever in the hopes you might need it or something like that. And so it's a little different take on the way where money comes from kind of idea. But the late stage version of that is you go, well, if you can convince people to be productive, it's more efficient for us to extract resources from them. And if you think about, there are certain social levers that every human being needs. There are needs that every human being has. They have a need for social ability. They need a social connection with people. They need a community. They need spirituality, and they need individuality. Right. So you take those four things and you go, what are those four levers? That's socialism, communism, capitalism, and religion. Right. And those are the four things that people have been using to marshal resources for 12,000 years. Those are the levers of power that people pull. So right now with Bitcoin, you've got a rule change. You go, hey, what's the rule now? Well, there's this valuable property that you can't steal, period. It is the most valuable property that's ever been created in the history of mankind, and you can't take it. The only way to get it is through deceit or trade. And you go, okay, well, we've got these treasury companies now. We got these loan companies now. What are they doing? Well, they're trading you, our dear pleb, all this great paper that they can get out of thin air so they can capture the most valuable resource ever created by man. You go, why would you ever do that? You have the ability right now
Yeah.
to write down your seed words, put the thing in cold storage, and have the most valuable property that's ever been created in the history of mankind, and no one can take it from you. Why would you voluntarily give that up so you can get some paper? It's insanity to me. And I really truly believe because they are people that don't realize they're being farmed. They don't realize that they're essentially farm animals, and the people that are pulling the levers, the people that are actually playing the resource capture game, are farmers. We're the animals, they're the farmers. And so these farmers are now saying, hey, we're going to give you a lot more hay, and we're going to give you some fresh seed and a wider field, all this great stuff. Just give us the property that you chickens somehow managed to acquire. That's pretty interesting, but we want that property from you. And we promise life's going to be great. And so they do. I would just remind everyone that the farmer is still going to get his meat and his eggs. So don't give the farmer the thing that he wants for free. Use it. That you can become self-sovereign. Like when you talk freedom money, it's not just like I can do black market transactions and I can buy cocaine in Bolivia. It's like you get to have access to the most valuable property that's ever existed and can't be stolen. That is a fundamental change in the entire political economy of the entire globe, and it's never happened before. Why would you ever give that up? That's my take on treasury companies. It's absolute insanity that you are giving the most powerful people in the world, the people that are extracting resources from you daily through taxation and wages and labor and all this crazy shit. You're just going to go, hey, I've got some property of my own now. You want it? Like it's just madness. So that's my spiel on treasury companies and what on earth people are doing that for. I can't wrap my head around. I look at it with a bit of disdain. I understand it because people grew up in a fiat system. They grew up being farm animals. They don't know any other way than being a farm animal. So when someone comes along and says, "Hey, you can be a farmer right now," they go, "Oh, I don't know anything about this farming shit. I'm happy to peck at the ground and get my seed, and yeah, I'm good." But when people give that stuff up, I just go, "Man, you don't know what you're giving away." By the time you realize what you had and what you gave away in exchange for a little bigger yard, you will the sadness the sadness and fail will become very, very self-evident. So for the love of God, take self-custody. Run your own node and don't give these clowns your most valuable property that's ever been created. Please don't do that. That's a terrible idea.
I love that, Daniel. I think that's a very eloquent way to be able to sum up. I very much relate that mindset to the Bitcoin treasury companies. I think a little bit more grounded. And what came up is that line out of the song "Big Yellow Taxi." You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Like we've only got a little bit left, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Um, and it's like, why also would you like buy into their product instead of doing what they're doing? Like they're taking control of the Bitcoin, or they're buying it and taking control. Yes, maybe a lot of them through Coinbase and stuff. So Coinbase has then got the keys to it, but why not just take the keys yourself? And
Right.
then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I find is then there are some people that are going to profit like spectacularly and already have off these treasury companies, and they're Bitcoiners that we like and respect, for their takes over the years. But they've got like a huge stack of Bitcoin in self custody, and if the treasury company's got 6102 or whatever it is, and they lost everything, it wouldn't change their life in the slightest. But I guess like the audience that I'm hoping to reach and speak to is the mum and pop, or the young entrepreneur, or someone that just wants to live a life on their own terms, and they come in and they want to break free of the matrix or the rat race, or they're just sick of working nine to five and not controlling what they do in each moment of their day-to-day existence. It doesn't take long in Bitcoin, like 2, 3, 4 years. You can get that back pretty quickly
Yeah.
and then
Oh
go
yeah.
out and do whatever it is. And that was like my own experience in my life. And that's who I want to reach. But they'll like come into this space, and because there is all this marketing and stuff around the treasury companies or the ETF, and Bitcoin itself doesn't have a marketing department, they can get distracted or they can get psyops. Then they'll listen to people that Bitcoiners respect or whatever, and they'll see that this Bitcoin person has done really well, but is now talking about the treasury company, but not connecting that if the treasury company went to zero for the influencer person, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter because they've got their big stack of Bitcoin uh, there from being around. So I guess it's just like it's a different game going on, but it's a fiat game, and it's not something that I want to um, be a part of at all. Earlier, you said something, and I want to pull on a thread. Like a lot of Bitcoiners give Bitcoin conference organizers or people attending Bitcoin conferences a lot of shit. But you're saying that you went there, you paid for the VIP ticket. When I've gone to the Bitcoin conferences here in Australia, I always pay for the VIP ticket as well, and I guess the most amount of FUD against the Bitcoin conferences, you're just going to hear the same people that you watch on YouTube say the same thing and maybe in a slightly different way. I'm like, 100%, you're correct. Like, they are probably going to say the same thing. But that's beside the point. It's about the networking and like the people that you gain access to. So why did you go and upgrade to the VIP ticket to get in the room? What was that mindset?
Well, that was BTC Prague, and of the Bitcoin conferences I've been to, I would say that is one of the better run. I mean, it's just a stellar conference. Czech Republic is a beautiful country. Prague is a beautiful city, and they're just amazing people. The people that put it on are really thoughtful, and they just do a really bang up job of it, right? But it was my first time going to the Czech Republic, and I thought, well, what the hell? I want to go up and hobnob with people that I watch on YouTube or whatever it is. What I learned from every Bitcoin conference that I've been to, though, is it's exactly as you described. It's fiat bad, Bitcoin good. Like that's all you're going to hear for every speech. Bitcoin good, fiat bad. Bitcoin good, fiat bad. So you don't go there for the speeches, right? If you're kind of new to it, it's sort of thrilling. It's kind of fun to watch, somebody up there giving a speech, like Tony's speech at the last Prague from the
Must
Bitcoin Way.
watch. Must watch for
Yeah,
everyone.
an
Bitcoin
absolute must
Prague,
watch.
Tony
Yeah,
Yazbek, YouTube.
yeah, just outstanding, and the passion that he brings to the space, I think, is wonderful. Uh, and just much respect to that guy. And if you hear his story, and I think that's one of the reasons we align so well because like I speak directly to his experience on some level. I go, hey, look, man, like weird shit can happen, and weird shit happened to him, and he wasn't prepared for it. And people underestimate the likelihood of you can wake up one day and you just don't have a bank account anymore. And people go, oh, that could never happen to me. Well, it can, it has, and it can happen again. And what I think is likely if Bitcoin doesn't do what I think is going to do, people are going to wake up and go, hey, here's your CBDC. By the way, you took a 10-to-1 haircut. And there's the bread line right there. And most people are going to bitch and they're going to complain and then they're going to go get in the line. And that's the way it's going to go. So if you got Bitcoin, guess what? You don't have to worry about that as much. I mean, it's still going to be a pain in the ass, but you're going to be better off at the end. So the thing I would say is it's the culture and the vibe and the people that you meet is absolutely worth it, 100%. And it's not just about meeting the influencers. Like some of them I meet and they're very genuine people, like BTC Sessions, Ben, just an absolutely outstanding gentleman, just a great person. Like he taught me how to do some wave thing. I don't know. It was epic. But that was in the VIP room at Prague when everyone else went to the bar. We went back to the VIP quote unquote party, and there's like 15 or 20 people there, and the lights were off, and they're tearing down the sets. But there was BTC Sessions, just like hanging out and just being cool. And they're playing guitar and singing together, and it was just like this really great sort of magical experience. But you get to immerse yourself in the Bitcoin world. You get to talk Bitcoin. You get to talk to people about Bitcoin and hear new things and hear interesting information and hear interesting conversations and learn things. And not have to explain every stupid little thing on the way and not have to hear the dumbass FUD and not have to hear all the nonsense. You just get to be part of your community. One of those pillars that we were talking about, every human being needs. You get that community, you get that social layer, and it can transform your life. It's the Microseed wouldn't exist if I didn't go to Prague. And Microseed wouldn't exist if I didn't go to Prague last time. And Microseed wouldn't exist if I didn't go to Bitcoin Vegas and Bitcoin Miami and all that other nonsense. Or, Bitcoin is for everyone in Portland. All the conferences, they all have an influence. They all let you see things. They give you ideas. It unleash creativity. It's absolutely worth it, 100%. And it's got nothing to do with seeing Michael Saylor talk about his new slideshow on the 15 reasons why MicroStrategy or whatever is the best company to buy, right? And I have no beef with that guy because I recognize he is playing the competitive resource capture game and he's playing it expertly. He is capturing more of the most valuable property ever conceived than anybody else on planet Earth. So when people say who's going to be more powerful, like Elon Musk or Michael Saylor, I go, the game is competitive resource capture. The resource to capture is Bitcoin. Who's got more Bitcoin? that's,
Yeah.
that's all enough said, I think, but we'll see. So that's why you should go to a conference. It's for the community, 100%.
Yeah, I love that. Daniel, I've put the Microseed website below. I'm also going to put it up on my website as well
Oh,
for
thank you, sir.
everyone. I'll,
Thank you.
I'll link your X account. But is there anywhere else that we can send people to be able to learn more or connect or follow?
Yeah, I mean, they can go to Microseed. It's 21E15 Microseed or Microseed 21E15 on X. I very rarely post on Noster, though I keep meaning to, and then I just don't. But it's a failing on my part. It's not an excuse or anything wrong with Noster. Or you can find me at Daniel 21E15 on X or Twitter or whatever you call it. And I rarely post there because most of my time now is spent trying to catch up with all this Microseed stuff. It was sort of an unexpected hit. I'm grateful. You know, it was Alex Gladstein reposted one of my tweets just randomly and then just blew the lid open on everything. So it's been
Nice.
sort of a remarkable experience since then. Much gratitude to him. And he does great work in the space, and the Human Rights Foundation,
Yep.
absolutely something you should look into and be part of and subscribe to. But from those are the primary places, are microseed.io. But yeah, I'd encourage anybody, if they're interested, you should read my book. It's free. It's a little dense. Some people find it a little tough. I think I actually kind of take apart Lynn Alden's stock to flow theory a little bit. So at much risk, because Lynn Alden is a brilliant genius thinker, and I was fearful even writing it, but I go, I just disagree with you. Sorry. So I turn over a few apple carts in that book, but I also put it out there because I want people to have a deeper context on Bitcoin, where the system comes from, the system we're all operating in, and why Bitcoin is super important in that system. It's not just number go up. It's not just, well, I got savings technology. It's not black market money that, yay, I can go buy cocaine in Bolivia. It's all of those things, 100%. It's a transactional medium, 100%. Its money is however you define that, which is undefinable, but it's also something that's very, very different in the history of mankind. It's different than electricity. It's different than fire. It's different than the wheel. It's something that changes a game that's been being played with no way to fix it for 12,000 years. And we now have a rule that can fix it. It fundamentally changes everything. So get some while you can. You never know, it might catch on, right? So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. I'll put the link to the Great Realignment below, where people can find that. But you've spoken my love language this whole conversation, Daniel. Bitcoin and self-custody, run a node. Everyone out there, please do something nice for yourself today, for somebody else out there. Be blessed. Peace.